And with that, I heard someone shout, "Get down." And all of a sudden, the door opened. My first reaction was I laughed. And then I put my arms up. And then he puts a pistol straight to my head. And I see the team leader of my British security team surrounded by 5 Iraqis. And I said to the security team leader, "What do we do?" And he's like, "Just do whatever they say." I was like, "Is that it? Is that the best advice you've got?" You know, yeah. My job, I was based in the Green Zone, but my work was in the Ministry of Finance Data Center, which was actually part of the University of Baghdad and was based in the Red Zone. Now, the Ministry of Finance Data Center, I'd been told, was a really nice place. It's part of the University of Baghdad, excuse me. There's grass, it's nice, and there's not many people there, right? Sounds good. Until the day I'm due to go. The Iraqi army intercepted a truck bomb. And they got it, right? They got the truck bomb, no problem. They drive the truck bomb to the edge of Baghdad, to somewhere near the main Ministry of Finance building, which was like this massive building, whatever, 10 stories high. And they undertake a controlled explosion.
Oh, no.
Unfortunately, they got it wrong and blew out most of the windows in the main Ministry of Finance building.
The very first day that you're there.
Yeah. So now, unbeknown to me and my security team, was that all these Ministry of Finance workers now, from these 10 floors of building, were transferred to these 2 rooms at the Ministry of Finance Data Center in the University of Baghdad. I turn up for my first day. There are, I don't know, 200 people in this single story building. It is rammed. I have no idea what's going on. So my job was to train a team of Iraqi programmers to develop reports to produce spending financial information from the system. So these programmers have been shunted into this really small cupboard, no electricity. So they couldn't turn the computers on, could they? So yeah.
What?
So
chaos, absolute chaos.
Yeah, just like ridiculous. So things normalize, I suppose, over the next month or so. So yeah, I've been there
as much as they can be.
Yeah. You know, things start becoming routine. I've been there from April the 2nd to May the 29th. You know, missiles have been flown over. We'd had a few close hits. One had sort of hit the compound, but we were in like these again, you know, everyone said, "Are you in these bomb-proof buildings?" Now, in my mind, I don't know what a bomb-proof building looked like, but it definitely wasn't what I saw. So in my mind, a bomb-proof building is like, you know, a massive concrete house with super reinforced walls or something. I don't know. What I had was, you know, these temporary building huts that are made of like plywood, you know, on building sites. Okay. And then they had metal frames around them with sandbags on top of the metal frames.
Yep.
That was the reinforcement.
We call them, a lot of times we'll do like what's called a HESCO barrier, where they have like these big metal cage. They're basically giant sandbags. So you have like a metal framed kind of like, almost like a metal mesh. And then they have like a burlap bag inside of it, and they fill that with sand. And those are blast protectives at some degree.
Yeah, that isn't what I envisaged. I was expecting something more.
Reinforced concrete, right? You know, like all this. No,
they did say to me. They did say to me around the edge they had those T walls. You know, the concrete the big basin. It stood up right. That didn't fill me with confidence, really. I mean, you know, they look like they sort of would blow over quite easily. You know? I don't know. Yeah. You know. So anyway, that's the condition we were sleeping in. That was fine. So we had another missile come in closer to our compound, and it didn't hit the building, but it obviously hit the ground, and it caused all the shelving and stuff to fall off inside this this bomb-proof building. So yeah, so that was the sort of excitement that was going on. And I ate some dates from the coconut trees. That was quite nice. And I'd been doing restaurant. And I was doing. Oh, I tell you what I was doing as well. I was doing my 10,000 steps wearing my body armor. So
getting some good exercise.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't as super fit as you guys, but I was fitter. That's for sure. Things weren't so bad. So I guess let's get to the day of it, I suppose.
So kind of take me through the fateful day of May 29th. What was that day like?
So the actual morning wasn't too different from any other day when we did it. So I went to the security room. Well, I went to our canteen, had breakfast, that sort of thing. And then I went to the security room about 8 a.m., something like that. And I got my bulletproof vest, which had a massive number 13 on it. And I was told I could black that out. But, I thought having 13 on there's got to be lucky, right? And with that, I got in the car and we had a quick briefing. So I did that. And just as I was about to go, somebody said, "Oh, there's some post for you." And so I opened up the post and it was a video that I'd ordered, a DVD, The Long Way Down. It's a motorcycle documentary, right?
No way. Okay, awesome.
Yeah. So what I did was I got the DVD and I said, "I'll just drop this back in my apartment. I'll watch it when I get back tonight." So I did that, got back in the car, and off we drove, yeah?
Oh, famous last words.
Yeah, come back to it. We'll come back to it. So I did that. And then as we drove out of the green zone, I remember thinking, crikey, there's a lot of Iraqi police outside the green zone. That's not normal. And I didn't say anything about it because we've been told the protocol was do not speak with the security team, right? We're just the principal, as they called us. We weren't even the client, right? So the protocol was not to talk to them. So I didn't think, I was like, okay, looks odd, but I'll just ignore that. And as we was driving along, so the journey's about half an hour, something like that. And we're driving along and we get to the Ministry of Energy, I think it was, the electricity department where they produce the electricity. And we pulled in and stopped. And that was not normal. And I leant forward and I said, "Is everything okay?" And they said, "Yeah, we've lost radio contact with the car behind us. It must be a blackout area." And I didn't think too much of it. But as the car behind us got closer, the radio came back into play again. And they're like, "Yeah, we've got comms. Let's carry on." I thought, that's a bit weird. Anyway, we get to the Ministry of Finance data center at the University of Baghdad. And there's a bit of a protocol of who gets out first and all this sort of thing and how we get in there. One of the security guards gets out first. They open the door for us to make once it's clear, etc., etc. So that's all fine. So I go into the Ministry of Finance. I go to the room where I'm normally teaching, and it's all good. It's all okay. I meet up with my programming team. There's also another 50 odd people in there doing all sorts of different stuff. There's another trainer in there again and all this sort of stuff. So I start doing some training and we'd known about a problem with the microwave link on the roof. So they wanted us to go and check the microwave link on top of the roof. And so, I mean, as an IT person, I'm okay doing that. But it all went a bit wonky because there's two of us there. There's a guy next door, and then there's me going up on the roof. So it's like what security stays with who, where, sort of thing, So anyway, I go up with one security guy, and I kind of go up on the roof. And of course, first time in anything like this, I'm like, wow, look at this view. He's like, for God's sake, kneel down, right? You're going to get shot. I'm like, oh, okay.
Damn tourist, right?
Yeah, it's like flaming heck. There's snipers all over the place. Like, what are you doing? So I was like, oops, sorry. Yeah. So anyway, we play around with this microwave link. And as we're coming back down the stairs, obviously because it's the university, there's dormitories to one side of this building. and there's students in the corridor. And as we come down, obviously there's basically a white guy carrying a massive machine gun sort of thing walking down the stairs. And it kind of freaked him out a bit. So I think that might have been where somebody called the police and said, there's foreigners walking around with guns here, sort of thing. It's all a bit weird.
Right. In the college, right? Or in the university.
Yeah, or right next to it. So that's what I think sort of may have alerted them to it. But then about, I don't know, it's about 11:45. So I've been here 2.5 hours at this point. One of the programmers, he was a guy, he was a systems analyst. And he said to me, I just need to go out, excuse me. And he walked off. And that was really weird. The Iraqis are normally quite polite. They don't do that. No one had ever walked out before. And again, I thought that was odd. So he'd been gone about 5-10 minutes and I'd sort of stopped. I was like, what do I wait for him to come back? What do I do? And I was talking to the other programmers about it. Like, do we carry on or whatever? And they're like, we don't know where he's gone. It's really weird, sort of thing. And with that, I heard someone shout, get down. And everyone in my room stood up. So, I learned from working in South America, don't be the odd one out, right?
Yeah.
So I also stood up because in my mind, if I stood up, I'd blend in with all these other Iraqis in this room and not stand out at all, right? Being the only foreigner there and all that kind of thing. And all of a sudden the door opened and at the entrance, the door was this guy. Unfortunately, when I stood up, I was right next to the door. So when he opened the door, I was like the first person that he saw. And it was a Ministry of Interior police officer. So in Iraq, each ministry has its own police force.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of look at him. He looks at me. I look at him. He looks at me. He looks at me. It's a bit of a standoff sort of thing. I'm like, who are you? And he's like, who are you? And then he puts a pistol straight to my head. And I think my first reaction was I laughed. And then I put my arms up. And what I noticed more wasn't the pistol pointing at my face. He had a machine gun slung over his arm. And the barrel of the machine gun was pointing right at my groin. And I just thought, I've got my hands up. I just thought, if this machine gun fires, this is really going to hurt, And with that, he said, come on. So I'm like, okay. And I thought I'd step outside and I'd see my British security team doing their thing. Whatever that thing is, I expected a thing, right? I've seen Hollywood movies, you all have a bit of a punch up and we all end up going home in time for tea, So I get out of the room and all I can see are all these Iraqi police officers running all over the place. I can't see my security team at all. And I'm led to the entrance of the building and I see the team leader of my British security team surrounded by 5 Iraqis. And one of them's trying to pull his machine gun away. With that, they did disarm him. And with that, they let us out. And I said to the security team leader, what do we do? I'm expecting some Jean-Claude Van Damme kind of stuff going on.
Come out guns
here.
blazing, right? Shoot everybody, right? Save the day.
Right. You got it. Yeah, that's exactly what I was expecting. And he's like, just do whatever they say. And I was like, is that it? Is that the best advice you've got? Yeah.
What? I have a lot of questions, right? What are you doing here? Okay, so hang on. So how many Iraqi police or whoever this was, right, were in the room? Because you have 4 security guys, pretty well armed to the teeth, enough to get overwhelmed, right, by this force. How many were there?
So there were about 100 Iraqi police officers, and they came in about 20 vehicles. They were real police officers. It transpires they were also militia, but they were real police officers.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was all a bit dodgy.
So, from a security standpoint, I get why they made the decision of saying, like, there's 4 of us, right, and we're all going to die if we do this, but they're going to overwhelm us. And so, I think the idea of like live to fight another day, figure out what's kind of going on, assess the situation itself, like that's a tough place to be in when you're just massively outnumbered and you're being disarmed. There's not a lot that you can do, other than go out in a blaze of glory, I guess is the other option you can choose. But I don't know that it's easy. I think a lot of people may armchair, and say, well, they should have just, gone out shooting. But it's very difficult to be in that situation, you know, and have to live with that actual decision.